Hey everybody, it's Papa Wiggs here with Wiggs. We're gonna do something a little bit different here, mix it up. We're gonna do some head-to-head comparisons with some players, just to give you guys our thoughts on what we think. So our first one here that we're gonna be talking about is Jayden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. So Wiggs, who you want to take?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the Caleb Williams side here.
All right.
We'll let you go, Jayden. You've been talking up Jayden Daniels, so we gotta let you talk him up.
Yeah, so listen, I'm a huge Jayden Daniels fan. I was hoping the Vikings were gonna trade up for him and stuff. I think Washington definitely got their franchise quarterback. I'm not saying that the Bears didn't and Caleb Williams, um, but if you look at what Caleb Williams did, and I'm not dismissing um, or if you look at what Jayden Daniels did in LSU compared to what Caleb Williams did in USC. I mean, obviously Caleb was, the guy, right? He had, um, they both only played 2 years, I think, right?
No, they played more. I just only took the recent two.
Okay. Well, their last 2 years, if you look at their stats, it's pretty close if you kind of average it out. Caleb's probably got a little bit of the edge, and stuff. Here's what I like though. I think Jayden Daniels' ability to move around in the pocket and rush is a huge benefit. I don't think I Jaden or Caleb does that a little bit, right, Wigs? I mean, I don't think he does it to the level of Jayden Daniels. I'm not saying that he's like Kirk Cousins and stuff, um, but I love it. I love Jayden Daniels' ability to move around, rush. I think that gives his game another level. Obviously, he's got to be smart about doing it. I think he lit it up in LSU last year. He had over 3,800 yards, over 1,100 rushing yards. That's crazy. He had 40 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns. I think this guy's the real deal. And here's my hot take, and Wiggs is probably going to disagree with me. I really think that that Jayden Daniels is, from a fantasy football perspective, is going to have a better year than Caleb Williams. And so let me just say that again. From a fantasy football perspective, I think he's going to have a better year than Caleb Williams. That doesn't mean Caleb's not going to have a great year. I just think, you know, that because of Daniel's ability to rush, he's gonna have more yards rushing than Caleb Williams. I think he's definitely gonna, when they're in the red zone, he's always gonna be an option to run it in. He's uh, rushing now. Caleb has that ability as well to rush it in, because I mean, they kind of flip flopped, right? Wigs, so 2022, 2023, so they were close there. So, but I still think that Jayden's going to have the edge there, I feel like. Uh, and I just think that because of his, the way he's so mobile, that's going to open up an opportunity for him to create some big plays for his wide receivers. I think it's going to be Terry McLaurin, one of his best years this year. He's got Ben Sinnott as his rookie tight end there. They got Dotson as another receiver. Having Eckler and Robinson come out of the backfield. They got Zach Ertz there if he stays healthy. They've got a lot of targets. They've got McCaffrey's brother as one of their receivers. So I think Jayden is surrounded by just a ton of talent, just like Caleb is. But I just think that he's just going to have a better season because of his mobility. Um, and I think that he's he's gonna rush receivers open, if you know what that means. You know, when he scrambles out of the pocket, that's going to give receivers the ability to get open, so he's going to be able to find them. That and which I think is going to create some big plays. That's what Lamar does. Lamar's good at that. So I think Jayden Daniels is going to be doing the same thing. So Wiggs, what's your take on Caleb?
I think Caleb's gonna have a pretty solid year here going into this season. Obviously he's got the talent around him. You got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet. You have Roma Dunzi as well that you just drafted this year, along with Caleb there in the top 10. Like, they have all the talent in the world on this team. I want to give the slight edge here to Caleb. Not by like a wide margin, because I do think Jayden Daniels does have a lot of upside, and I was actually, before you said it, going to compare him kind of to Lamar, but I think it might be a little more of a struggle with him on this team compared to what Lamar had with Mark Andrews. Unless Sanat is like unbelievable this year, then maybe my opinion swayed a little bit, because I think McLaurin's already a good receiver and established. I mean, averages 1,000 yards almost every year. But looking over at Caleb Williams' side of things, I think he won't have to really do too much to get his receivers the ball, or even his tight ends. And I think they might actually enable him to run the ball when he needs to, because they're going to be so focused on covering their guys there. Because, I mean, looking at it, you got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. You got two big weapons right there. Even if Keenan Allen's struggling in preseason and all that,
Well,
but
he's got Udunzi too.
yeah. And then you got Cole Kmet. So, like, I think realistically, I think they both could have around the same rushing touchdowns. But I will say Jayden Daniels will definitely have more yards, because he is more of a Lamar type quarterback. Um, and I don't really want to like dig too deep into the college stats, because it gets kind of screwy with divisions and teams you play there, because they're not all at the same talent. But um, looking at it, they were both pretty close in passing yards their last year. Obviously, Daniels runs the ball a lot more than Caleb does, but when it came down to the touchdown aspect of it, they both had 21 in the last 2 years, rushing at least. So that looks good. But Caleb Williams obviously has a pretty commanding lead there in the passing touchdown perspective. Um, but again, that's just college stats. We'll have to see how it kind of correlates over to the NFL. But for me, I personally give like a slight edge, and it's not even like a big edge, but a little bit more there to Caleb Williams, because I do think he'll throw for more. I definitely think he's going to throw for more touchdowns than Daniels. I think what Daniels does with his legs is going to kind of keep him close to Williams there in a fantasy format with PPR, because he's going to be getting those extra 2 points of touchdown rushing, or an extra point every 10 yards he runs. So
Yeah, and I can see that. I hear what you're saying, because Caleb did have that big year in 2022. He threw over 4,500 yards, 42 touchdowns. I believe. That I don't remember who he was throwing to, but I believe I think him and Jayden kind of flip flopped. When it came to 2023, I just think that Jayden coming from LSU is more NFL ready. I think he's gonna adjust better coming out of LSU. Don't get me wrong. I think Caleb's coming out of USC. USC's, I mean, I think he's gonna do well too. You know, I do agree with the Wigs. I think he might have a little edge on passing touchdowns, maybe, but I think here's what I think. I think they're going to be pretty close in all the stats, with the exception of the rushing. I think that Jayden Daniels he's definitely gonna have a lot more rushing yards than Caleb will. Um, so with that being said, especially in PPR, I think that that's going to allow um, Jayden to end up with, like I said earlier, more fantasy points than Caleb. The other thing is that I think that because he's going to translate into more rushing yards, I think that's going to give him the edge on rushing touchdowns. You know, so your point, Wiggs, I think you're right. He might throw for a little bit more touchdowns just because of the targets that he'll have. So but I still think Jayden and him are going to be close. in passing touchdowns with Caleb having the edge. I think though that I see Jayden having the edge in the rushing touchdowns because I think there's going to be I can literally see Jayden break off some runs this year, kind of like Lamar, where he takes it to the house. Just because of his running style and stuff like that. Where I think there's a realistic chance that he gets 2 or 3 touchdowns of 30 yards. Just because of his ability doing that. So, with that said, like I said earlier, my hot take on this is that Jayden's going to end up with more points because of that, and that's the rushing's the X factor for me with those two.
Yeah, and like I agree. I definitely think Daniels will have more rushing yards. I honestly feel like they're both gonna have about the same touchdowns though, but that's just due to the fact that one, Daniels is gonna have to be running the ball a lot, so obviously he's gonna run in touchdowns. And two, like Williams is kind of just gonna have his guys covered sometimes and have to run it, and I think that's just gonna open him up to have pretty solid runs, at least short ones in the red zone for an easy touchdown. But
Well, to sum it up here really quick, here's my prediction. I predict that Jayden Daniels is going to throw for, boy, this is a tough one, but I say he's going to throw for at least minimum 3,500 yards. I think he'll have around, he could have anywhere between 30 and 35 passing TDs. I think he could rush. I think he could easily rush for, you know, I think he's easily going to be above 500 yards, but he could be pulling a Lamar if he stays healthy. He could have over 800 yards, close to 1,000, and I'll say minimum 10 rushing touchdowns with the possibility of maybe 12. That's my prediction for him this year.
I think Caleb Williams will end up short of 4,000 this year. I think he's going to be at about like 38, like 50 or something like that, relatively in that area. And I think he'll have about like 28 passing touchdowns. I would love to say 30, but it's a rookie. I don't know if I could really see any rookie quarterbacks throwing for 30 this year. From a rushing standpoint, I could maybe see him running for about like 250 to 300 yards this year with about 6 or 7, maybe even 8 touchdowns, just depending on where they're at on the field. He could even go for longer runs for all we know. He is athletic enough to do it, and um, in a sense, he does kind of remind me of like Patrick Mahomes, where he's not like too crazy with the running, but he does have the ability to pop off and make a good run or run it in for a touchdown. I don't know. For me, for Jayden Daniels, I'll just give you a little take here. I think he's maybe going to hit 32-50 passing. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near 30 touchdowns. I think he's going to be about like 23, 24.
Well, that's why you were talking about Caleb.
Well, yeah,
I'm not talking about Caleb.
no,
You were
I'm
talking
just
about
I'm
Caleb.
I'm giving my thoughts there too because I just want people to know why I'm giving him a little bit of an edge here. But rushing touchdowns, I think he ends up just having like 2 or 3 more than Caleb Williams. He'll probably be around that 9 or 10 mark, maybe even more. You never know. He does have the ability to run it. I do agree with you. He could easily hit 800 plus yards rushing the ball this year. I really think it comes down to what Daniels' offensive line does this year because they've had issues protecting their quarterback in years prior, and I think his mobility will help him evade that pressure. And obviously, that's
Well,
why he'll be running the ball
the
more.
Bears have had the same thing too as well. So, but yeah, given that, I think this is you're gonna hear about this matchup all year from everybody on all the different platforms. This is one of the most debated um, rookie position players this year is these two.
They play each other too.
So I think it's going to be good. It's going to be fun to watch, and watch both of them. I hope both of them have a lot of success. Um, I really do. I think the Bears obviously have put Caleb in a lot better position than they did Justin Fields. I think the Commanders, you know, they've got some sneaky guys, that maybe aren't going to be your household names that are going to step up this year. Unlike the Bears, because the Bears, they brought in, Keenan Allen and Swift and they got Komet. These guys are household names. I think the Commanders, I think Brian Robinson's going to have a decent year this year. I think McLaurin is going to benefit from Jayden Daniels big time. I think the one name that's going to be a sleeper to watch is Sanat at tight end. I think that they're really high on him as a rookie, and I also think that McCaffrey at wide receiver for the Commanders is going to be somebody that's going to be a little sneaky as well. So this will be an interesting matchup to watch this year. Really close from both of them. So
And we'll see them playing each other week 8. So
yeah, week 8. Oh, that'll be a fun game to
that
watch.
will
So.
be probably one of the better games of the week, in my opinion.
Well, I hope you guys like this content. We're gonna be doing a few of these. With different players we want to debate. Check us out on Fantasy Fools PPR on YouTube. We're also out on Snapchat, X, TikTok, Instagram. Wiggs is putting stuff out there all the time. So check us out, and we appreciate you guys watching. Wiggs, you got anything to add?
I think that sums it up.
All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.